bullpen. He's just throwing in whoever he needs. Short reliever, long reliever, whatever.
George Karl has come back from an 0-2 deficit to win a playoff series before. That was when he was with Golden State, and ironically it was against Utah. And Jerry Sloan, there you see his career playoff record. Sloan's overall winning percentage 655 with Utah overall. And there's George Karl with the Sonics 4-3. And of course, 3 of those victories came in their first round when they took out Golden State. Michael Cage getting a start in the middle instead of Benjamin. So all the pregame talk, or hype, if you will, was about Benjamin and the job he did on Malone in the 4th quarter of Game 3.
Well, I think that was a smart move by George Karl. He kind of diffuses any early histrionics that's going to go on here.
Here's Jeff Malone against Ricky Pierce. And Jeff Malone hitting, what else, an off-balance shot.
Jeff Malone's an amazing player. He scores most of his points by twos. When he was a little kid, he only counted by twos.
This is Pierce, guarded by Malone. A 3-try. Rims out, tip missed by McKee. Kemp trying to load, and Karl Malone saves to Stockton. Stockton is fouled by Pierce in the Utah front court.
Well, you know, when I was with Detroit, Isaiah Thomas always respected John Stockton's speed. That's the one thing you don't really think about Stockton, is how quick he is. He had a little 4-inch area that he tried to blow by right in front of us here, and he did it.
Stockton guarded by Payton. Jeff Malone again, this one with a half hook, and it's Payton to the loose ball. Open is Pierce. Rims out. Eaton the rebound for the Jazz.
Well, he had Jeff Malone open momentarily, thought better of it. You know, George Karl was telling me that he would really like to take advantage of the fact that he doesn't care who guards who. Like there, switch.
Benoit dumps into Eaton, a return loose, and it's Kemp with a pickup. And a half left in the opening quarter.
On the other hand, J.D., Jerry Sloan would like to have Jeff Malone operate completely on Ricky Pierce, but because Karl switches so much, you can't always do that.
Now it's Jeff Malone back the other way. The Jazz with his 2-0 lead. Inside to Karl Malone, left it short. Looked like maybe he was body hunting and got off balance going for the shot. Now McKee inside to Kemp.
Well, that's one of the very few dunks that Shawn Kemp has had in this series. It's been part of Utah and Jerry Sloan's strategy to take away Shawn Kemp's dunks, to take the crowd out of the game. Up till this point, they've done an excellent job of it.
Karl Malone pressured by Cage. Over the top, it's Jeff Malone. Back out to Stockton for 3. And the long rebound, Jeff Malone keeps it alive for Utah.
John rushed that shot. Not much chance of that going down.
Here's Benoit, guarded by Kemp. Now Stockton works around a Karl Malone screen, and Karl Malone finishes.
I simply marvel at his ability to deliver the ball inside. He is the leading assist man in the playoffs in 1992. He's averaging 15. He's absolutely phenomenal. Jerry Sloan gushes when you mention the name John Stockton.
Ricky Pierce gets the corner turn, but runs right into Eaton underneath. And now with 4 on the shot clock, it's Kemp under pressure of Eaton, trying to get free. May have used all the time and then some. He did. 24-second violation.
24-second violation.
One of the ways that Utah has succeeded in negating the effectiveness of Shawn Kemp, he averaged over 22 points a game in the series against the Warriors, is the use of Mark Eaton. George Karl told me he did not figure that Eaton would be as big a factor in this series as he has been.
And therefore has had to develop what he calls the Eaton rules, and we'll get into more of that later on. There's a loose ball foul called against Utah. It's on David Benoit.
Foul Benoit, his first team foul of the quarter.
The Sonics the ball, the Jazz the lead. 8:38 left to go in the first quarter. McKee on top of the floor this time, guarded by Benoit. They've got Eaton the foul line defensively because Cage is way out past the three-point strike. 5 to shoot. Kemp against Malone. And a foul on Karl Malone. No, traveling is the call.
Well, you know, you mentioned the Eaton rules. George Karl told us that he developed some rules for Mark Eaton. Watch this now. When the penetration is made, Eaton is in the middle of the lane with his classic hands-up stance. What George Karl is trying to do is trying to keep Mark Eaton on the move so he can't get in there and zone off the lane like he does.
And now we get a whistle. And the legal defense whistled against the Supersonics. They have had 10 illegal defense violations in the first 3 games, but only 2 in game 3. They had 8 in the first 2. With the new 24, Benoit gives it up to Stockton. We are inside of 8 minutes for the quarter and a low-scoring game so far. 4-2 Utah. Malone with a slip pass inside and a foul call. Jake O'Donnell has the call. It's on McKee.
Well, you saw 2 great passes, one by John Stockton, the other by Karl Malone, not necessarily known for making great passes, but he delivered that ball to Mark Eaton. Mark Eaton just couldn't quite handle it.
That foul was on Pierce, I stand corrected, and that's his second. Here's Malone getting inside, hits the side edge, and it's out of bounds to the Sonics. They get it in quickly. Now McKee off the drive, draws the foul, and hits the basket.
Second team foul.
Nice penetration here. McKee, who hasn't been a factor in this series so far, looks like he wants to make a contribution tonight. Derek McKee was a big factor defensively in controlling Jeff Malone in game 3, but offensively his output in the last game in game 3 was 7 free throws and no field goals.
So he's ahead of that already with his first field goal tonight. That was, by the way, the first time in his career he'd ever been shut out from the field. This is Benoit over McKee. The long rebound. McKee has it. Now Payton surveys the scene. Finds Pierce. Malone on him. Pierce gets a pick from Kemp. McKee swings to Cage. Eaton guarding him. Cage off the drive. And Karl Malone, the Utah rebound. Now Jeff Malone back on the push. Lost the handle on the wraparound move. George Karl wants a double dribble call. Sonics the 1-point lead. Stockton guarded by Payton. Shot clock at 5. Karl Malone doubled up. Stockton over the top. Eaton against the shot clock. He hasn't been called on often, Dick, but when he has, Eaton has produced.
Well, everything that George Karl is doing against...
What a move by Kemp. And a loose ball foul on Kemp. We'll pick up that thought after this timeout. It's a 1-point Utah lead. It almost looks like an Eastern Conference situation with the Jazz 3 out of 9 and the Sonics at 2 for 7. Not what you would expect in a Western Conference matchup where the points are up, the shooting is up. And they chant offense. Here's Mike Brown scoring over McKee. The Jazz with the last 4 and a 3-point lead. Now let's see what the Sonics do with Eaton out of the game. Corbin guarding McKee. A foul on Ty Corbin before the shot. In the East tonight on TNT, you saw the Bulls hold on to the home court advantage with an 8-point win against the New York Knicks. And a 3-2 edge in that series. Benoit Benjamin coming in now. Cage going out. And Eddie Johnson replacing Ricky Pierce. Pierce with his 2 personal fouls. McKee hasn't missed often in the playoffs, 91%.
Jerry Sloan was highly criticized in the Clipper series about using a short rotation, only using 7 guys. In this series, he has used 8. He needs to get help from Ty Corbin or David Benoit.
And you know what, Dick, and you know this from being a coach, players have to earn a coach's trust. And these guys have earned his trust with their play in this series.
They really have, and I think Delaney Rudd is another guy that could be a factor. Because he's going to have to make sure that as this series progresses, or even as this game progresses, that John Stockton is going to get more than just a perfunctory rest.
That basket by Corbin puts the Jazz up 5. Now it's Kemp against Malone. Sean Kemp has had a tough time shooting since this series came back home to Seattle. Look at Stockton with the long throw ahead to a wide open Corbin. And the rebound tipped off to Eddie Johnson. Payton. McKee against Stockton. Probably wishes he hadn't lost the dribble so soon against the smaller player. Now Payton with a lob pass inside to McKee. From here I thought it was a shot.
No, I don't think so. He's only taken 15 shots in this whole series. Gary Payton is a guy who loves to pass the ball, loves the assist, and really is a bad shooter and has been a bad shooter, but he's improved somewhat in this series. He's shooting 41% in this series. Towards the end of the year, he had a very, very bad shooting slump. So he's kind of taking it easy and letting everybody else do the scoring.
The Jazz have picked it up offensively in terms of their field goal percentage. Payton against Stockton. Here's Eddie Johnson guarded by Jeff Malone and trapped by Karl Malone, and a loose ball out of bounds. It belongs to Utah. The Seattle Center Coliseum, the site tonight for Game 4 in this Western semifinal round series. The Sonics really in need of a victory, because if they don't, it goes back to the Delta Center with Utah in command 3-1. And Dana Barros, the designated three-point shooter for the Sonics, is in the lineup right now. Blue Edwards has come on for Utah.
I love Dana Barros. Changed his uniform number from 11 to 3. Because I'm the man that shoots threes.
Is he ever? Here's Mike Brown inside. Mike Brown with 4. Dana Barros is 8 for 8 from three-point country in the playoffs.
Right now, the pace of this game is favoring the Utah Jazz. They love to play at this pace. Take out all transition if they possibly can.
Got a reach-in foul on that pass into Benjamin. Mike Brown picks up the foul.
Mike Brown is first.
Karl Malone inside to Mike Brown. Mike Brown picks up big, strong downtown. Mr. Brown.
Nate McMillan has come on for the Sonics, replacing Payton. Right now it's McKee, Benjamin, Kemp, McMillan, and Barros. I'm sorry, it's Eddie Johnson up front at that other forward spot. Kemp is out. Barros guarded by Jeff Malone. Zips a pass into McKee, missed steal Malone.
Oh, that was a big gamble by Karl Malone. He tried to step around on the top side and go for the steal. Give him some credit. He dove through his body on the floor. But if you don't get it, it's an easy basket you're going to give up. Derek McKee took big advantage of it. I got a bit mismatch inside with Dana Barros and
Blue Edwards.
And I'll tell you what, that's not going to work.
Blue Edwards with his first 2 points. McMillan guarded by Jeff Malone. About 3 minutes left in the quarter. Johnson against Corbin. Here's Barros guarded by Blue Edwards. Because he's such a threat to shoot the 3, Edwards has to come out and get him. A pass into the post tipped away, and Utah with it, Jeff Malone. Edwards a bouncer into Karl Malone, and he muscles the shot up and draws the foul, and the fans are not happy with a call by Tommy Nunez. Foul is on McMillan, and a timeout taken with the Jazz up 7.
Fans, be sure to buy a Sonics NBA.
The team fouls are even at 4, and a guy who has made a rather pleasant living on the free throw line back there now, Karl Malone. Averaging over 30 points a game in the series. Just under 30 in the overall playoff run, 29.6 and 8th in rebounding.
Of course, the big thing here in Seattle is the fact that Karl Malone was held to 0 points in the 4th quarter of Game 3. He came out in the papers today and he said, I will score in the 4th quarter.
I think that's probably true. Here's Barros Barrows finding Benjamin.
You know, whatever you want to say about Benoit Benjamin, whether you've been happy or unhappy with his progress since he's been in the NBA, no one has ever said the guy isn't talented. He's got all kinds of skills.
Again, the Jazz trying to take advantage of the mismatch, and McKee came over to help and got the block.
Credit Mike Brown for really hustling to the offensive boards. Ball popped out in front of him. Couldn't quite get it, but he bounced it off a Sonic player, so his team kept possession.
Utah coming in, 10 on the shot clock. Now it's Mike Brown going strong to the hoop and drawing the foul.
Foul, Nate McMillan, his second.
Well, you know, you want to give some credit. Give some credit to Nate McMillan for stepping in when this tank, Mike Brown, comes down there. Caught him high on the arm, made sure he didn't get the ball in the basket, put him on the free throw line.
That's the second foul on McMillan.
Mike Brown 3 for 6 in the playoffs from the line. Not a bad trade-off.
Actually, that's in this series, but overall, he shot pretty well from the free throw line in the playoffs, coming in at 78%. He hit his first 11.
Yeah, he had a big string. And then he kind of cooled off.
How about this? He got 6 points off the bench already. And Utah has opened up a 9-point lead. Here's Eddie Johnson on the move across the lane. Lost it out of bounds. That's the 5th turnover against the Sonics here in the first quarter. With 1:54 left to go. Utah with only 1. Utah playing without Stockton. Edwards blocked by McKee. A foul called, and Blue Edwards shoots 2.
You know, JD, sometimes great scorers can be terrific passers as well, because there's always the opportunity afforded them to have a nice open passing lane, because they get so much attention because of their reputation as scorers. At that time, Jeff Malone made a wonderful pass down the baseline, found Blue Edwards wide open. But the reason it was successful was because the guy that was guarding Blue Edwards was staring at Jeff Malone.
The Jazz have opened up an 11-point lead. They've doubled the score. 14,000 starting to come to life here in the Seattle Center Coliseum. McMillan drops it for Benjamin. Here's Barrows, but Malone runs out at him. Now Benjamin in over Mike Brown. Rims the shot, draws the foul. He'll shoot 2, and Benjamin comes out holding his back.
Foul, Corbin, his second.
Call the foul on Corbin. That's his second.
Team foul.
Benoit Benjamin to the line, where he is 8 for 16 free throwing in the playoffs.
Well, it's interesting because George Karl, in his preparation for this game, was very, very concerned about the presence of Mark Eaton. He came up with these Eaton rules. He was worried about, playing games as to who was going to open and start against Karl Malone. So he was going to start Benjamin, waited right till the last minute, starts Cage, worried about Eaton. Eaton's not even in the game and hasn't been in the game very much. And right now, Jerry Sloan has a smaller lineup in there, and it's being very successful for him right now.
Barrows puts pressure on Jeff Malone. Malone takes him right inside and scores over it.
Now that's a tough shot. But he's a tough shot maker.
6 points for him.
When you have a player like that, you have to give him his freedom, and you have to assume that he's going to take a couple you don't like.
Eddie Johnson unable to connect with his first attempt. Mike Brown the rebound. On Sunday, one of the main things the Sonics did and did well was rebound offensively. They had an 11 offensive rebound edge against Utah, and thus they were able to win even though they didn't shoot as well. Benjamin the rebound. They come up court to McMillan. He doesn't have the numbers. Nearly lost it in traffic. Now Barrows open for 3. Hook it.
This guy has not missed a three-point shot in 1992 in the playoffs.
9 for 9.
Now, he had a lot of time, but he also had a lot of pressure on him, too. He knew he was 8 for 8. Finds himself wide open, kind of surprised that he was that open, measured it, and hit nothing but the bottom of the net. 9 for 9 for Dana Barrows in 1992 in the playoffs.
When he misses one, it's going to be one of the biggest upsets of the playoffs this year, right?
Well, I think it's nice to have a specialist on your team like that. He can come in. Chicago has one, and Craig Hodges, although this guy right now is the leading three-point shooter percentage-wise in the NBA, and I believe in the history of the NBA, he passed up Steve Kerr as far as the percentage is concerned. And he has a reputation, and he now takes pride. I talked about the fact that he changed his number to 3, takes great pride in it, and hey, he backs it up.
Now he's got a player more his size to match up with. John Stockton back in. Stockton with 12 on the shot clock. About 6 difference. Stockton around a Karl Malone screen. Open Corbin. And the rebound to Kemp with 5 seconds left. If they get it out, they've got time. Here's a foul on Blue Edwards. Foul. They were over the limit anyway, and so it's 2 free throws for Nate McMillan.
Edwards is first.
You know, it's interesting. John Stockton elected to try to get Ty Corbin involved. In game 1, Ty Corbin came through very, very big for the Utah Jazz. He had 23 points. He started off slowly in this game, missed his first 2 shots. John Stockton maybe with a little too much time on the clock. Yeah, I think he would have rather had that clock shot go with no opportunity for you know, the Sonics to answer. But he seized the floor and he made a decision. He could have gone a variety of ways. You know, JD, he had a real good shot himself.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, though, when the shot came off, there was 5.9 left. And there was only 6 difference, so he used it all. From 45 feet, Corbin off the glass, and we've played 1. And it's the Utah Jazz, without a victory on the road in the playoffs this season, leading it by 8.
Some men just know how to stand out in a crowd.
Well, John Stockton has a chance to get the last shot of the quarter. He's going to run a little high pick and roll with Karl Malone. And what happens is he finds he can get into the lane, and he has some choices. One is he can take the shot himself, but like a true point guard, he wants to get his teammate involved. He'd love to get Ty Corbin involved, and he does. Corbin doesn't make the shot. See, as he goes in, he has a chance to take that shot, but tries to set up Corbin for a 2.
Now live action. This is McMillan. Nate McMillan with his first field goal. It's a 6-point lead for the Jazz. David Barrows guarding Stockton. Mike Brown picks up a crowd in the lane. Rimming no, and cleared by Benjamin. A pitch out to McMillan off the drive. Alley-oop to Kemp. He had to throw over Eaton, remember, to make the connection, and it went out of bounds.
Well, there's that mountain man again. When he's in there, he really causes problems, and you have to make adjustments with every pass you make and every step you take.
Stockton has lost the dribble against Barrows. Mike Brown way out on the floor, guarded by Kemp, and 6 seconds on the shot clock.
See, Barrows has to hand check because he cannot handle the speed of John Stockton.
Now they come again. This time they beat Eaton to the hoop. First 2 points for Eddie Johnson. Good job defensively by Seattle this trip. Mike Brown hits from the outside.
Well, give Seattle a lot of credit. They took away every option. They ran a series of back picks. They tried to post up Stockton, and they back pick, stepped him out. Nothing was effective.
Barrows up the middle, runs into a crowd. Loose ball. Stockton is saved. And the Jazz with a 6-point lead in possession. 10 minutes left in the first half. Stockton leaves it for Edwards. How did he see him? Blue Edwards hit it.
That was an amazing pass, a wonderful pass. You just, anytime a player can make the pass before the coach or the fans can see it, you know you've got somebody special. You go, where's he going with that ball?
Usually when you come out of screen roll, you give it to the guy who's the screener. That's a 2 for Barrows. Ricky Pierce and Michael Cage are ready to come on for Seattle. Stockton hounded by Barrows. Brown picks him off. Now Kemp picks up Stockton in the switch, and so Stockton wants to get it to Brown in the post against Barrows. Mike Brown over Benjamin. Went for the glass, got his own rebound. What's the call? We have a foul called against Utah.
You want to see a wonderful pass? Comes off the screen and roll. John Stockton penetrates. Looks like he's looking for the roll man. A no-look pass to Blue Edwards, who finishes.
The foul was whistled against Ty Corbin, and David Benoit is back in. Corbin out with 3 fouls.
Mike Brown kind of forced that last shot. He had Ty Corbin standing wide open on the perimeter.
McMillan pressured by Stockton. Eddie Johnson picked up by Benoit. Now McMillan off the drive, shoots over Eaton, and Kemp misses the tip but stays with it. Trying to find some room, zips the pass out to McMillan instead. That's Eaton for you. Here's Johnson. Missed the 3. Cage the offensive rebound. And this is what the Sonics did in Game 3.
Yeah, this looks like Chicago against New York in Madison Square Garden.
Kemp, trap. Shot clock at 8. Now Kemp is open. He's having a tough time with open shots. Mike Brown the rebound.
Well, the things that's causing a problem for Utah on the offensive boards is that there's a lot of switching going on, and Seattle gets some mismatches that are putting the defensive players for Utah Jazz in very odd positions and taking their rebounders away.
Pierce finds McMillan. Now it's Cage off the drive. Inside to Kemp, and that's part of the Eaton rules that we've been talking about. Well, tomorrow at 8 o'clock on TNT, more NBA playoff action. The Celtics and Cavaliers at 8 o'clock Eastern from the Richfield Coliseum. Pete Van Wieren and UB Brown will have that one for you. Karl Malone returning.
2 shots.
Sean Kemp to shoot 2. .79% free throw shooter in the playoffs for Kemp. He's the top rebounder in the playoffs thus far. And on the rebound, a loose ball foul on Cage as he went over the back of Eaton.
Loose ball foul, Michael Cage.
First foul on Michael Cage. Make that the first team foul against Seattle here in the second quarter. Slips it to Benoit. I'll tell you what, he did everything but lay it in the basket for him.
Well, Benoit went across to set the screen. Seattle switched. Benoit just rolled right back to the ball. Stockton read it perfectly.
Johnson's pass deflected. Earlier on, maybe McMillan would have launched the 3, but he's had a tough shooting stretch from 3-point range in the playoffs.
Well, you know, Sean Kemp scored very well. He scored 20 in his first game, 19 in the second, but in the third game, he had 8 points and 6 rebounds, and everybody all of a sudden got off his bandwagon saying the guy went from Superman to a begoggled Clark Kent.
But they did win that one anyway.
Well, what's that line about don't talk on Superman's tape?
You're right. And don't spit in the wind. Here's Pierce beating Stockton. Now driving it on Malone and Eaton. Eddie Johnson with the follow.
Eddie Johnson.
6:40 left in the half. Utah the ball, a 3-point lead. They've been up by as many as 11.
Kind of a bad passing angle. See how they're backing off to Stockton a little bit because McMillan has the size to put one hand on the ball and one hand in the passing lane. It's hard to get the ball in. Right now, Karl Malone is the only reliable scorer along with John Stockton on the floor for the Utah Jazz.
And Malone will be on the free throw line when we come back from this timeout.
Second team foul. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, the Sonics.
Your big man to get back and try to match up and cover against quicker Seattle people. That time it worked out for him. Only temporarily.
Karl Malone to the free throw line, shooting 2. Karl Malone in the playoffs this year, averaging, as we mentioned, just under 30 points a game, and he's got 5 points tonight. In the second quarter, the Sonics 5 of 9 from the field, the Jazz 3 of 8. One thing that Malone has proven in the playoffs this year, not double teams, not triple teams, not illegal defense will keep the mailman from his opponent.
Yeah, he went so far as to say that they've thrown rodeos in the World Wrestling Federation at me, and I still score.
It's a 5-point lead for Utah after those 2 free throws.
Rodeos?
Here's Pierce leaving it for McMillan. He tries the 3. And he's had a tough run in the playoffs. Kemp with a follow block. Kemp again, and he draws the foul.
Foul Mark Eaton in his second.
Foul is on Eaton. 2 fouls against Mark Eaton.
2 shots for Kemp.
Again, at the conclusion of tonight's game, Dick Versace and I will be selecting the Budweiser Player of the Game. Kemp 1 for 3 at the free throw line in this contest. He's got 5.
Well, Sean Kemp's been a reliable free throw shooter. He made, I believe, his last 9 in a row to finish up the series against the Golden State Warriors.
Stockton off the drive. Kemp the rebound. McMillan back on the push, in on Benoit all the way.
Oh, nice hesitation. Little change of pace. Froze Benoit. Blew by him with the right hand.
We've got a New York-Chicago pace working here with 5:30 left to go in the first half, and a 2-point lead for Utah. Page tips it away to Pierce. Oh, Barrows had danced free at 3-point range, and they didn't get it to him. Pierce missing. Benoit the rebound.
Jeff Malone did a great job of cutting down the middle, took away the middle. Look at that beautiful pass. Absolutely unbelievable. J.D. leaning back in his seat, grabbing the top of his head in utter disbelief.
How did he see him that time?
J.D., the guy is wonderful.
He's got Karl Malone has 8 points in the contest. There's a good feed into Pierce from McMillan. First 2 points for Ricky Pierce. And usually where his first basket comes, 3 or 4 more can't be far behind.
Well, we caught his defender following him, and when you sense that your defender is trailing you, it's very smart to curl. And if the defender on the screener doesn't step up, you got it.
Some hustle here. They've reset the shot clock. Now it's Malone. The question is, did anyone really have possession for a reset? McMillan pressured by Benoit. Works around a cage screen and slips past Eaton and draws the foul on Eaton. And our point is this, where the Eaton rules are concerned, they got him in the free throw lane in recovery.
Well, that's one of the things that George Karl tried to do. He said if Mark Eaton, who's been a factor in this series, is in the game, we're going to get him involved in guarding the screener on a screen and roll like he did there, and try to get him in a situation where he has to try to recover and move that big body. He wasn't able to do it that time.
Nate McMillan with 8 points for the Sonics as they cut it to 1.
You now see Mike Brown in the game. Jerry Sloan does not want to have Mark Eaton exploited, because that's something that once you find out how to exploit it, you can go ahead and continue to do it, get big mileage out of it.
Here's a foul on Mike Brown, setting a screen for Jeff Malone.
Offensive foul, Mike Brown, second personal.
Now that's such a subjective call that it's a very bothersome call to coaches. You know, you learn how to blow by it mentally, but you know, you just say, you know, what is and what isn't a foul. I know the officials have some way to determine it, but we've never figured it out.
The Jazz without very many turnovers, but that one was their 4th. 8 on the shot clock. Pierce, Cage. Pierce around the Cage screen. With 1 to shoot, McMillan almost saved it. Now it's Jeff Malone back quickly. Takes it all away. And gives the Jazz a 3-point lead. McMillan in on Mike Brown. Tries to come back to Pierce, and the Jazz with another steal. Stockton to Malone, and it's out of bounds, intended for Mike Brown.
You know, you got everybody out there trying to be John Stockton. You know, to be John Stockton, you've got to be John Stockton. And really, they had a big advantage in the numbers. They needed to come up with a shot.
9 turnovers for Seattle, 5 turnovers for the Utah Jazz. About 3 minutes left to go in the half. McMillan backdoor to Pierce. Something that's a little easier done with Eaton on the bench, and a timeout taken by Utah. 2:54 left in the half. The Jazz lead down to 1.
And then he curls. If he comes down the lane and the defender goes over the top, he just backdoors right in here. And that's what happens. Now watch as Pierce comes down the baseline. He just back cuts. The defender goes over the top. He gets a nice easy basket.
And that brings Seattle to within 1. Stockton at the controls for the Jazz. Gary Payton back in and guarding him. Shot clock at 8. Karl Malone launches over Benjamin. Pierce the rebound, and the Sonics with a shot at the lead. Seattle very patient. Their offensive set, 9 to shoot.
They're really trying to work Pierce. They want to get Ricky Pierce the ball. They feel that he has to score for them.
They get it to McKee instead, and Derek McKee has 9.
There's that element that I was talking about before, JD. A guy who has a reputation as a scorer can be a great passer because he gets so much attention from the defenders of the other people.
Malone against Benjamin. Karl Malone has 12.
Well, this strategy of bringing Karl Malone outside is something that they want to do to take advantage of the fact that they don't think that Benoit Benjamin is going to come all the way out. If Malone hits a couple of shots, Benjamin comes out, then he starts taking them off the dribble.
Here's Kemp in on Malone. And Karl Malone with a clean pick.
I mean, that was a major league steal. I mean, he just put his hands in there and took it out of his hands.
The quick shot goes down for Edwards. Blue Edwards has 8. 4 straight points for the Jazz and a 3-point lead. About 1:10 left in the half. McKee against Edwards. McKee has him in size down on the post. Brown comes to help out, and McKee rims it in.
Oh, got a crier, got a nice roll, drop. That's a big size mismatch inside. But that's something that they can take advantage of. They may just milk that. That's the way George Karl likes to coach. He finds something that works, and then he milks it.
And McKee is 5 for 5 from the field of the game. Jeff Malone over Benjamin.
I mean, there are not many guys that you want to encourage to take those shots.
Over a 7-footer, right?
But he has a knack.
Shot clock at 18, about 20 difference. Sonics with a 2-for-1 opportunity here at the close of the half. Benjamin missing. Karl Malone the rebound. They will get it again on 24-second possession. 19 to shoot, 4 difference. Stockton against Payton with 7 on the shot clock.
What he'd like to do is penetrate and set up this man, Jeff Malone, for a nice easy jumper. Nothing available on the double team.
Edwards missing. A rebound to Seattle. McKee throws it ahead to Kemp, and they lose a shooting opportunity as the half comes to an end. Jerry Sloan and the Jazz with a 3-point lead, hoping to win one on the road and go up 3 games to 1.
The 1992 NBA playoffs are brought to you by Lexus Luxury Automobiles, the result of a relentless pursuit of perfection, and by Coca-Cola
to go with it.
Well, through all of this, you get this feeling that the Utah Jazz don't really feel as comfortable as maybe their little lead would indicate by the looks on their faces. You also get the feeling that the Seattle Supersonics can explode at any minute.
Ricky Pierce with a look-away pass inside, and Payton with his first two. There's Stockton right back inside to Malone. Blocked by McKee.
Carl Malone.
Carl Malone stayed with it.
See, when Karl Malone sets the screen and rolls, he knows that John Stockton, if possible, will get him the ball, but he also knows there's going to be a lot of help rotating from the weak side, so he has to get himself under control.
Benoit rebounding the cage, miss. So Jerry Sloan elects to go with Mike Brown here, starting the second half instead of Mark Eaton.
Well, Sean Kemp inside. There's a double team. Nice cut by Mike Brown, but he traveled.
There's a 6th turnover against the Jazz. Again, Seattle with an opportunity to cut it to 1 or tie with a long one. Kemp dumps into McKee. McKee against Benoit, chopped away by Malone out of bounds with 13 to shoot. The Sonics to come in. They got it in against the 5-second count. Now Payton, guarded by Stockton, works around the cage pick. Shot clock at 5. This is Pierce. Side to Cage and knocked away out of bounds. It belongs to Utah.
Well, I don't know if Utah planned on that double team. I think that was an inadvertent double team. Normally, if you're going to double team, you cover up and protect the basket. They failed to do so, and they got real lucky with a little bounce off the chest.
The Sonics with their 11th turnover. There's Jeff Malone with the floater. Tipped away, loose ball, Payton. Payton off the drive, a lob to Kemp. That pass was deflected in midair. It still got to Kemp.
Well, that's the thing that Jerry Sloan wants to avoid. He's done a great job so far in this series to keep Sean Kemp from dunking the ball and electrifying the crowd.
Jeff Malone draws the foul and scores the basket. I thought that pass got tipped on its way.
Well, here's Gary Payton coming down with the ball. Takes a nice, easy lob, but you don't need to do anything else but just put it up there because Sean Kemp has so much air time. He can go up there, have a cup of tea, have some sweet and low in it, and still take the ball and dunk it.
It was Payton on that foul, his first. Malone with 13 points in the game. 4-point lead for Utah. There's McKee wrestling inside, but it comes out to Stockton. Now it's the Jazz in a hurry. Stockton right to Malone.
Carl Malone from Stockton.
John Stockton, if you do not match up, he will find the open man. And if you don't match up inside, that ball is going to be in the hands of the open man instantaneously.
McKee swings to Kemp. The pass out to McKee, deflected, 8 on the shot clock. Now it's McKee against Benoit. Stockton comes to double, and McKee's pass sails out of bounds.
Again, take a look at John Stockton. He didn't even need to pick the ball up. He passed that ball right off the dribble, delivered the ball inside to Karl Malone. Mailman delivered.
Is Dave Inler of Auburn.
The 1992 NBA playoffs are brought to you by
Scoreboard tonight, we find Chicago an 8-point winner at home, and thus a 3-2 edge in that series with New York. The Knicks were out free throwed 30-16 in the contest and attempted 38-22. Michael Jordan with 37. He was 15 for 17 at the foul line, and Patrick Ewing fouled out with 14 points for the Knicks. But again, New York playing Chicago very tough in Chicago Stadium. 9 minutes left in the third. Jeff Malone guarded by McKee. Looking for Benoit, matched up with Payton down in the post. And over the top, a foul on Payton.
Well, Gary Payton was doing a great job of fronting, and the way the alignment was on the weak side, it was difficult to get the ball inside. Now they just keep battling. When Benoit fell down, see Payton fronting. But watch Benoit keep working here. A little grab at his pant. Now he shifts around, gets himself in front. Legitimate call.
second foul on Payton. 2 team fouls on the Sonics. Again, it's into Benoit against Payton.
Benoit.
And David Benoit has 4 points in the game. All of a sudden, it's an 8-point lead for Utah. The Jazz led by as many as 11 in the first quarter tonight. Derek McKee off the drive as the shot clock was down to 7. And Jake O'Donnell has a call.
Oh, Jake looks like he's doing the illegal defensive sign there.
Nate McMillan returns for Seattle.
Each team with an illegal defense tonight, so from now on it'll be a technical foul both ways.
George Karl was telling us, J.D., that he doesn't like the zone rules. He thinks he should be able to play any defense. You see Mark Eaton having a tough time picking up the ball because that ball is about 7 feet away from him.
And no reset on the 24-second clock. It stays at 15. In the third, both teams 67% from the field. And on a pass along the baseline, it's knocked out of bounds by the Jazz. 13 to shoot now. George Karl's club, 8 down right now in the third, and the Coliseum crowd is quiet. Benjamin drops it for McMillan. They got Eaton out on that baseline area.
Well, when you get Mark Eaton and you make him get busy and move his body defending instead of just zoning off, it's much easier to take advantage of him. See some real tough action inside.
Yeah, McMillan against Benoit, and Jeff Malone drops one from long range. He's got 15.
Wondrous shot.
Ricky Pierce against heavy pressure, leaves it for Eddie Johnson, who missed the 3. Eaton with the rebound. And now Stockton at the controls. The Jazz an 8-point lead. The Utah Jazz, who have never played for a conference championship. Benoit inside, had it knocked away. Sonics come out. McMillan on the push.
David Benoit missed Jeff Malone standing wide open down the baseline. He's got to read the double team and deliver the ball to the open man.
Here's McKee against Benoit. And Eaton. Loose ball to Stockton.
Got a free one.
Malone up ahead. And Jeff Malone has it blocked by Pierce for the foul call.
Ricky Pierce, his third.
3 fouls on Ricky Pierce in the third quarter here in the Seattle Center Coliseum. The Utah Jazz starting to pull away. It was a 3-point lead for Utah at halftime. But right now, Jeff Malone on the free throw line with a chance to extend it to 9 and maybe 10. Well, 9 will be
Johnson returns
his only opportunity after he misses that first free throw. Here's Eddie Johnson for Derek McKee. Quite often in the playoffs and has done very well, but this time 0 for 2, and he's 1 for 3 in this game. Let's see if the Sonics can take advantage of that break. Pierce against Malone, returns the favor. Ricky Pierce with the off-balance shot.
Well, George Karl feels that they've really got to go with Jeff Malone. You can't stop him on the offensive end, so you're going to make him work on the defensive end, try to cool him off or tire him out. Plus, you get some scoring yourself.
Stockton gets past McMillan. Now Jeff Malone, the open shot.
Oh, he's got the hot hand, and John Stockton knows it.
17 points for him.
J.D., that's the same pass that David Benoit missed. Ball was down in the low box. A lot of congestion defensively by the Sonics. Malone was left wide open on the baseline.
Second straight basket for Ricky Pierce. He has 8.
Well, we got some mano-a-mano going here. Both coaches going to their guys with a hot hand. Pierce and Jeff Malone.
And here we go again. Malone around the Malone screen. Jeff Malone.
Well, I've seen this guy get in zones. Of course, Ricky Pierce can get in zones, too. And when they do, everything they throw up goes in.
9 points in the third for Jeff Malone. That's Kemp on the reverse.
Oh, that helps. They need to get Sean Kemp involved. know, Kemp has been criticized for being confused. George Karl says, don't mistake that look of confusion on his face. He said, I think Sean's learning from game to game. What you see is concentration.
Benoit pops free. Big basket. Use the glass, and Benoit with 6. Ricky Pierce, a quick spin. Missed the shot, but draws the foul on Malone.
Foul Jeff Malone. His first team foul of the quarter.
Ricky Pierce on the free throw line for the first time in the game. 86% in the playoffs. That's down somewhat from his remarkable 9-16 during the regular season.
Ricky Pierce is one of these players that we refer to as a rhythm player. And he gets his shooting from the rhythms of his movements with the ball. He shoots better when he's moving, shoots better when he's juking, when he's faking, when he's ducking under. And when he gets the ball enough, and he has demonstrated on many occasions, JD, that he can be incredibly explosive.
He's got 10 points in the game now, 6 here in the third. Sonics showing half-court trap. Benoit open, now covered up by Pierce. This is Karl Malone against Benjamin. 10 on the shot clock. Malone stays with the outside shot. David Benoit with the rebound. The Jazz with another crack, and here's Jeff Malone scoring the basket and drawing the foul.
Jeff Malone is putting the Utah Jazz on his shoulders right now.
Fourth team foul. Edwards and Corbin return for Utah. Replacing
Watch this move.
Little screen and roll, doesn't use the screen, comes by, floats, nails it. That's nothing but pure Jeff Malone.
Except he has now missed his last 3 free throws. He's got 21 points in the game, 11 in the third. Going strong to the hoop as Pierce had it rejected, but a foul call. And Ricky Pierce gets to the free throw line. Derek McKee coming back in for Seattle. Tomorrow night on TNT, 8 o'clock Eastern. That other tough series going on in the East. The Boston Celtics and the Cleveland Cavaliers from the Richfield Coliseum. Eddie Johnson pressured by Edwards. Shoots on Edwards and draws the foul on Blue Edwards. That's the first team foul against Utah here in the third.
Right now, George Karl is playing a game of I've got my score. Ricky Pierce facing the basket. I'm running him off some baseline screens. I'm running single doubles for him. I'm trying to get him the ball and let him score. Then he rests Pierce a little bit, and he goes to Eddie Johnson. Tries to get some points on the free throw line. He's struggling to get points. There's virtually no post-up game that's being used right now by the Seattle Supersonics.
And yet, they're only down by 6.
Well, they're hanging in the game because of the pace of the game and because Utah is relying basically on one guy to score right now. You're not seeing Karl Malone involved at all. They don't have a post-up game at all.
4 on the shot clock. Jeff Malone takes a peek at it, launches a 3. He's not a good three-point shooter,
but he's in a zone.
He has everything going. Man, 24 points for Jeff Malone. Remember, his playoff high this year is 33. Eddie Johnson off the glass. No, McKee against Eaton. Lost it to Karl Malone.
2-on-1.
Blue Edwards and Karl Malone, and it's Edwards with the scoop off the glass. Edwards has 10. A 20-second timeout taken by George Karl. The Jazz have equaled their largest lead at 11.
Well, that's the second time that we've seen Karl Malone put those incredibly strong hands of his, just reaches right in and takes the ball out. 2 huge slams. But the story of this quarter, and maybe the story of the game, is this man, Jeff Malone, who everything he throws up is going down.
That was only his second three-point field goal attempted in the playoffs. So he's 1 for 2 from three-point range in their 9 games in the playoffs. Here's McMillan backing Malone down with 12 to shoot. McKee. Eddie Johnson. Now it's McKee left open from the outside. Rebound tip to McKee. Going to the hoop. Corbin digs at the dribble, and a reach-in foul has been called.
Well, you know, credit Ty Corbin, credit Karl Malone. They're not standing around watching defensively. Yes, they gave up the offensive rebound, but Ty Corbin goes right in and tries to dig it out a la Karl Malone.
Timeout, Utah.
Please. As Benoit Frenchman brings the ball down, right there, freeze it. He just reaches right in there and takes it out, steals it. Triggers a fast break and a nice little 2-on-1. Pushes up to Jeff Malone, who challenges Ricky Pierce, finishes, gets the foul as well.
Utah looking good here in the third with this 11-point lead. It equals their largest of the game. McMillan guarded by Malone. Eddie Johnson pressured by Blue Edwards. Now it's Kemp against Karl Malone. Sean Kemp had it knocked loose by Karl Malone. It's out of bounds to Seattle with 6 on the shot clock.
I mean, Karl Malone's hands tonight have been like a karate expert's. I mean, he is so quick with those hands.
The Jazz 11 for 16 from the field. Here's a 3 try by Eddie Johnson, wide right and out of bounds. A 24-second violation, simply out of bounds. At any rate, good defensive stand by the Utah Jazz. There is a resolve being shown here by Utah that has been lacking on some of their road playoff efforts. 15 on the shot clock. Jeff Malone doubled. Corbin into Karl Malone over Kemp. Tip. Good. Eaton.
Mark Eaton.
This is Lombardi-esque basketball at its best.
Kemp in deep on Malone. Eaton comes over for the block and gets hit with the foul.
I talked to Jerry Sloan into the wee hours last night, and he just kept telling me, Dick, look, I know everybody wants my team to be something else. They want it to be a team that fast breaks. They want it to be a team that runs multiple offense. I know what I have. I know what we need to do, and this is what's made us successful, and we're sticking to it. And not only that, he adds that vintage Jerry Sloan defense that he was so famous for when he played for the Chicago Bulls. He was in that tandem with Norm Van Leer and himself, that feared tandem. I can remember at a camp that he worked one time, he gave a speech and then said, who'd like to play me one-on-one? Not one of 300 campers would step up and play Jerry Sloan one-on-one.
Not many in the NBA would have done that either. Blue Edwards leaves it for Karl Malone. Malone guarded by Benjamin. This is Edwards. And the loose ball pickup, Eddie Johnson. Seattle trying to get something in transition, but Utah covers defensively. Benjamin pressured by Brown. Here's McMillan getting pinched off in the lane. Nice feed to Eddie Johnson.
See, once he makes the penetration, and the help has to come from the baseline out, that inside-out help is the worst kind to give because you have to leave somebody standing wide open on the baseline.
The Sonics have about a minute left in the third to get some momentum to carry over into the fourth. Stockton. Karl Malone to the hoop. And an offensive foul on Karl Malone. That could be the big play that Seattle is looking for to get them off and going.
Well, I don't know why Karl did this. He had a clear path to the basket. He was either going to get fouled or make the basket or both, but he chose and elected to lay that arm out. And that's clearly a wipe away.
Dana Barros is in for the Sonics. Benjamin is out. The pass picked off by Blue Edwards. Loose to McMillan. Now they got Barros spotted up for 3. His first miss in the playoffs from three-point country. Let's see if they try it again. Yep, Barros for 3. Hello.
I don't understand it. They left him wide open one time, he missed. Then they leave him wide open another time. And that whole thing was precipitated by Blue Edwards, who chose not to honor the possession.
There's a foul called on Stockton's drive.
Fouling McMillan, his third. 15 foul. Penalty.
All right, here's a wide open Dana Barros. First miss from three-point line in the playoffs in '92. Look at Utah. They're not matched up. Get matched up on this guy, because he's not going to miss again. Just a matter of being matched.
John Stockton shoots in the silencer. That's his first point of the night after 23 points in Game 3. He does have 9 assists, however. Benoit coming back in for the Jazz. Karl Malone going out, 30.3 left. The Utah lead, which was 13, is now 8. Now 9.
Jerry Sloan gets the extra rest for Karl Malone by taking him out with 30 seconds to go in the quarter. Gets another 100 seconds in the timeout. Good way to cheat and rest your star.
Here's Pierce off the drive, finding Barros. Now it's McKee taking up some slack. John Stockton with 5 seconds left. Stockton slips inside. Tip dunk. Benoit. No basket. Offensive basket interference. They are revving up in the Seattle Center Coliseum as their club has cut it to 7.
Well, you really don't want anything to fire up this crowd. There's the ball up on the rim. That's clearly goaltending.
Seattle Coliseum. After being down by 13, the Sonics have cut it to 7 at the end of 3. And it was Dana Barros off the bench who fueled the comeback with a 3-point field goal and also a basket interference call on David Benoit going for a tip dunk at the buzzer.
Well, if you're wondering about what is an offensive goaltend, if the ball is, and any part of the ball is in an imaginary cylinder that goes up, straight up in the air, and you can't touch it while it's in the cylinder.
In the third, the Jazz outscore the Sonics 28-24 after leading by 3 at halftime, so they have opened up the lead to 7. But remember, it's Seattle making the comeback here from a 13-point deficit. This is Stockton, and the rebound dug out by McMillan. On ahead to Barros. Eddie Johnson for 3. Really no, and taken out by Karl Malone. He knocks Stockton down.
Reaches over, gives him a little 5. Looked like he was going to help them up. Stock says, I'll get up myself, thank you.
Here comes Malone across into the post, being guarded by McKee. Stockton gets it to him. And a foul on McKee. Karl Malone shoots 2. In Chicago Stadium earlier tonight, the Bulls a winner over New York, 96-88. You'll see highlights of that following tonight's action on Inside the NBA with Fred Hickman and Doc Rivers coming up next on TNT after this activity here in the West. Those guys have been staying up late back in Atlanta. Last night they had to wait out that double overtime thriller in Phoenix.
Going to the mattresses. Playoff time. Everybody makes the sacrifices. Everybody's into it.
Somebody said once, it's all or nothing at all this time of year.
Well, order up the linguine.
18 points for Malone. 9-point lead for the Jazz. Johnson against Benoit. Now McKee guarded by Karl Malone. 12 to shoot. They've got Barros spotted up, but they run at him quickly. Inside the pass tipped out of bounds by the Jazz with 6 on the shot clock. The Sonics to come in.
George Karl searching for ways to get baskets, trying to take advantage of the fact that Karl Malone is guarding Derek McKee. You see the ball lobbed into Ricky Pierce.
2 to shoot.
Shot clock.
They lost it, and Edwards comes out with it. Here is a foul called on Pierce.
Ricky Pierce is
4 fouls on
second
Pierce.
team foul.
And the Sonics with their second team foul.
Oh, there's the kick. That's definitely going to slow things down. It saved the basket.
Stockton pressured by Barrows. This is a big defensive trip for Seattle, and Karl Malone lost control going up with it. Pierce coming back for the Sonics. Dana Barrows being guarded by Blue Edwards. On the turnaround, McKee missing. Tyrone Corbin the rebound. 10:20 left to go in regulation.
Well, if Seattle's going to get it done, JD, they're going to have to get it done on the defensive end. They have not had much in the area of easy baskets, a couple of steals, a couple of rebounds, and some transition baskets. But this is what they're going to have to do, make something happen defensively.
Edwards takes a stab at Barrows' dribble and picks up the foul. Blue Edwards has his third. Sean Kemp coming back for Seattle.
Because on the half court, Seattle was really struggling for where to go to get their baskets.
That's Barrows. It's a 2. Dana Barrows has 10, and that's a playoff high this year. Edwards under the pressure of McMillan.
Now Stockton will come and set the back pick, step out,
and shoot the 20-footer. Short, McKee the rebound. Nate McMillan on the push for the Sonics, takes Edwards in and leaves it for Pierce. Big basket for Ricky Pierce. The lead has been trimmed to 5, and Utah takes time with 9:23 remaining.
Nate McMillan.
And the Seattle Supersonics are back to within 5 after trailing by 13 here in the second half.
And this is really the first time that this crowd has been actively involved in this ball game. They're sensing that their team can come back. They're doing it with some defense and the help of Dana Barrows' shooting from the outside.
They've got 4 guys in double figures here in a low-scoring game. They're running some time off the shot clock on that inbound pass. Seattle almost with a steal. Ty Corbin guarded by Pierce. Now McKee has him in the switch. Corbin doubled up. 10 to shoot. Outside it's Edwards. They're looking for Stockton, but Seattle denies him. Here's a steal. McKee has it. Now a hoop makes it a 3-point game. Or if Barrows hits a long one, they're within 2.
I don't understand why John Stockton didn't bring the ball up from out of bounds.
Off the ball, we get an offensive foul called, setting the pick, trying to get Barrows free.
You see, this team, the Utah Jazz, they get in trouble when other people try to make the post passes inside. Not that they're such poor passers into the post. They just don't get the opportunity very often because this man, John Stockton, is the best post passer in all the NBA.
Jeff Malone ready to come back for Utah. Stockton dribbles out of the double team inside, and the Sonics read the pass and make the steal.
Well, John Stockton was forced into that quick pass because George Karl threw on a little inadvertent trap, and it bothered him.
Pierce over Corbin. And the long rebound, Edwards has it. Blue Edwards advancing on the dribble. Woohoo, he had Corbin open momentarily. Now looking for Malone against Kemp and shoots the 3 instead. Rimming no and cleared by McMillan.
I'm sure Jerry Sloan would like to have that shot back. And Ricky Pierce smashed up with John Stockton. Should have gotten the ball, ran that little back pick action. Pierce not a good defender.
Now Blue Edwards leaves. Jeff Malone back in. 15 seconds on the 24-second clock for Seattle. Eddie Johnson coming back in for the Sonics. Ricky Pierce will get a rest with 7:48 remaining. Dana Barrows for 3. The rebound to Kemp, right back to the hoop. Kemp again, and a foul called. He'll shoot 2. Sean Kemp has had a tough time shooting in this series.
And that man, Karl Malone, is wondering, hey, I had inside position. Yeah, the guy's a good leaper. He got up over me, but why is it my foul? Let's take a look. There's a long rebound up the miss by Barrows. Another shot thrown up, and there's by Kemp. Goes and gets his own shot. Looks to me like he climbs over the back of Karl Malone. Somehow the foul is called on Karl Malone.
Sean Kemp with that free throw down. He's 4 for 7 and has 12 points in the game. He also has 10 rebounds. David Benoit leaves. Mike Brown is back in for the Jazz.
You know, I go back to that shot by Blue Edwards. Jerry Sloan took him out right after that shot. They really had an opportunity to get a good basket. And you can't have hero shots. You're not a team that lives off the three-point shot anyway. You got to go with what brung you.
What's been bringing the Jazz in the second half is Jeff Malone. He gives it up to Stockton. Now Corbin into Karl Malone. They made him turn baseline. He almost lost it. It's up for grabs, and a loose ball foul on Karl Malone. And if you're the Utah Jazz right now, Dick, you've got to say to yourself, it seems that whenever we're on the road, something bad will happen to us.
Well, I think that's the last thing they should say to themselves. At some point in time in the history of this franchise, they've got to get this monkey off their back. Tonight should be their time to do it. Should make it their Alamo.
Right now, it doesn't look that way. Here's Barrows around the Kemp pick. Dana Barrows missing from inside. Kemp almost a steal. And now Stockton finally comes to the rescue. Boy, they're up against it. That's a 10-second violation.
They got it.
Jake O'Donnell making the call. It took the Jazz a while to recapture possession. I'm not so sure, Dick, they didn't start that clock too soon.
It very well could have happened that way. It was very confusing down on the baseline whether there was actually the possession by Utah or Seattle. Doesn't matter. They let it go.
That's part of the home court advantage, right? And now we get an illegal defense whistled against the Jazz. Their second one of the game.
Let's shoot this. And I thought I saw a sign. Technical foul on the illegal defense. I thought Tommy Nunez was looking at a Utah Jazz player, but he was just looking through the player at the bench, telling them that it was a technical. They were going to shoot it.
Seattle within 3. 6:36 remaining. Let's see if they spot Barrows for the tie. Yes, sir. And the rebound, Karl Malone. Jeff Malone at the controls, calling a play. 6:17 remaining. On the run, rimming no. Corbin the rebound, and he walked.
Oh, that's a tough call. Ty Corbin went in. Very aggressive, trying to keep the ball alive for his team.
See, a moment ago, Dick, if maybe the Seattle timekeeper started the 24-second clock too soon. I felt he did.
Unfortunately, we're going to lose sight of the clock here, but we did time it on our watches, and as we counted down, John Stockton gets the ball across court at about 8 going on 9 seconds. It looked like he made it pretty easily. George Karl was trying for that little extra bit of help, and he got it.
The rule is that the 24-second clock is begun. It starts to tick when you capture possession of the ball, and on that rebound, it was knocked loose at first, and then was not picked up cleanly right away. Anyway, Seattle with a great shot here. down by 3 and over 6 minutes remaining. Game 4, the Sonics needing a win to tie it up. Eddie Johnson, and cleared by Mike Brown.
Well, you see Bob Poppenberg, the assistant coach over there, shaking his head, not sure that he liked that shot. I think they need to get Eddie Johnson involved. A little punch from him will get him right back in this game.
There's a foul on Kemp guarding Karl Malone down on the box.
Dana Barros has cooled off. Ricky Pierce is getting a rest right now. And they've got to go to Eddie Johnson, Sean Kemp inside. Maybe Derek McKee can take the ball off the dribble, give him a little help that way. But right now, they're struggling a little bit themselves for where to go offensively.
That foul on Seattle, their 3rd team foul. Utah also with 3. Stockton gets doubled out front. Inside Mike Brown over McKee and taken out by McMillan.
Very tough shot, JD, for Mike Brown. I know Jerry Sloan did not want that shot.
Ricky Pierce getting ready to come back for Seattle. Here's McKee. Lost the handle going up, I think. And anyway, Kemp comes away with it. Now Eddie Johnson off the drive. And the loose ball to Stockton. Sonics really struggling trying to score.
A good choice by Mike Brown. Sometimes the possession is worth more than the opportunity, you know, and in a nail-biter like this, the possession almost always is worth the opportunity.
Jeff Malone missing. Karl Malone the rebound. The Jazz back out with a reset.
I know Jerry Sloan cannot afford to do it right now, but you got a very tired Jeff Malone out there. He's not moving to the defensive board on the other end, and he's struggling on his shot.
Shot clock at 10. Karl Malone walked. Ricky Pierce back in for Seattle, and Dana Barros going out.
Now you got that combination of Eddie Johnson and Ricky Pierce in the ball game. The veteran Nate McMillan at the point. Sean Kemp, Derek McKee. Lots of places to go get baskets now.
Utah 0 for 8 in this 4th quarter. Pierce the layup. It's a 1-point game.
Ricky Pierce is too smart. You cannot go over the screen because he's going to backdoor you every time.
Stockton falls down, and we get a 20-second timeout taken by Utah before he fell down with the ball. 4:13 left. Utah's lead down to 1. So far in the 4th quarter, the Seattle Supersonics have pitched a shutout from the field.
Well, you got a tremendous advantage if you're the Seattle Supersonics, and you've got an Eddie Johnson, who was the 6th man of the year winner. You got Ricky Pierce, who's a contender for it almost every year when he was with Milwaukee. He's a guy that can go to the bench and come off and score points. He comes off the bench and gets an immediate basket to help his team. He's been doing this most of his NBA career. It's a major plus for the Seattle Ball Club to have these 2 guys.
Utah with 20 seconds on the 24-second clock as they come in with 4:13 left. Stockton against McMillan around a Karl Malone screen. Ty Corbin past McKee, and a foul called on Kemp as McKee went to the, Corbin went to the basket. 5 fouls on Kemp, and the 4th team foul on Seattle. Ty Corbin on the free throw line for the first time in this game. He is 75% from the line in the playoffs.
Well, give some credit to the defense of the Seattle Supersonics. They've caused 6 Utah turnovers, taking care of the ball themselves, only turning it over 1 time in this quarter. Stepping up their defense, JD, has really made a difference for them.
That stepped-up defense has held Utah without a field goal. Here's a foul called on Mike Brown. And that's his 3rd, and that's the 4th team foul against the Jazz. So with Utah in front by 2, Seattle the ball, and 4 minutes left. McMillan hounded by Stockton. Remember, the next foul, and they're over the limit. Here's Ricky Pierce with 12 on the shot clock, guarded by Jeff Malone. Pierce's pass tipped out by Corbin, intended for Eddie Johnson. The 2 big guys coming back in. Mark Eaton for the Jazz. Mike Brown is out, and Benoit Benjamin. replacing Sean Kemp for the Sonics. 8 to shoot. Pierce off the drive. Gets it away over Malone. Rimming no, and Corbin the rebound. Stockton coming back in a hurry. Shoots on McMillan. Their first basket of the fourth quarter. John Stockton off the glass. Now Pierce coming back for a quick counter. Runs into Eaton. That left Eddie Johnson alone. Stockton the rebound.
Well, George Karl's got his weapons in there. He's got the right guys shooting it. He's got those two explosive guys, Eddie Johnson, Ricky Pierce. They're coming up empty right now. They're shooting blanks.
At the other end, Stockton with the first field goal of the fourth quarter for Utah, and his first field goal of the game. Karl Malone with the basket and foul.
Well, Karl Malone said, I will score in the fourth quarter.
He was quite a
while. 3
prophet.
minutes left in the fourth quarter.
Tomorrow night on TNT, 8 o'clock Eastern. Game 5 in that Eastern Conference semifinal round, Boston and Cleveland. And on Thursday on TNT, it's a doubleheader in Chicago and New York, Game 6. And Phoenix, Portland, Game 5.
Well, JD, I know we're only 5 hours from Alaska, but we got some very cold shooting here. Utah is 2 for 9 in this quarter, and Seattle is 3 for 15. Most of the scoring has been done on the free throw line. Karl Malone is having an interesting half. 3 for 8.
Missing on the free throw. Dana Barros. Guarded by Stockton. The weave out front, it's McMillan against Corbin. 10 on the shot clock. Pierce against Eaton. What a shot for Ricky Pierce. 16 points for him.
I mean, it takes some kind of special player to make that shot. You can't really appreciate it unless you're right down here next to it. The way he was able to get that ball up over the size of Mark Eaton,
who is a foot taller than he is.
George Karl's throwing the kitchen sink at Utah right now.
They come away with a steal. Here's Pierce trying to get running room, and Corbin takes the foul. The Jazz are over the limit.
15 foul.
Well, let's see why Ricky Pierce is able to get this shot off. See how he creates some space by throwing his body into Mark Eaton. That freezes Eaton. Eaton puts his arms straight up. Pierce gets a little space and kisses it off the glass.
Points for Pierce. The Utah lead is 3, 2:16 remaining.
George Karl told us at the shoot-around today that he's not afraid to throw the traps on. He knows he hasn't gotten that much out of them, but he does think it wears down Stockton. He hasn't used them that much tonight, but I expect in the waning moments of this game, John Stockton is going to see the whole kitchen sink and the entire defensive arsenal of George Karl.
Jeff Malone guarded by McKee. Malone doubled up. Stockton swings to Corbin over Pierce. A big bucket. What a cold-blooded shot by Ty Corbin. He's got 5.
Well, remember, Ty Corbin started the last several years for the Minnesota Timberwolves. He knows what to do in waning moments of the game, and he's not afraid.
McMillan missing. That was a 2. Karl Malone corrals the loose ball with 1:42 left. The Utah Jazz the ball in a 4-point lead. Jeff Malone gets doubled up out front. It's Corbin left open again. Now Barros picks him up. Stockton swings to Jeff Malone. 5 to shoot. Karl Malone for the jam. And a foul.
Will this be the night the monkey gets off the back of the Utah Jazz?
Dana Barros is first.
Dana Barros picks up the foul. Karl Malone to the free throw line. This is some dunk right
How about
here.
this resounding yes, yes. We'll get the monkey off the back tonight.
Karl Malone brought his teammates up off the bench. It is a 6-point lead for the Jazz with 1:25 remaining. Malone will be on the line after this timeout, so it's possible, Dick, that Seattle could be facing a 7-point deficit this trip down.
Well, J.D., here's what has to happen. You got Utah. Karl Malone is on the free throw line. That's going to allow George Karl to set up his full court defense. I expect that he would come out with some kind of extended defense. He can do it after the possession. They get the possession, they come down, they try to score, and then they can press after the made basket if they get a basket. I think when they come down here right now, 2's as good as 3. Get a 2, get a 3, get yourself on the free throw line. The best thing that could happen right now after Malone makes the basket and Seattle advances the ball is for Seattle to end up on the free throw line scoring some points with the clock stopped.
The irony about this series is that until now, the home court has held in every game played. But during the regular season, when these two teams played 4 games, the visiting team won 3 of the 4.
Well, you know, I think that you can take all those statistics. You know what they say, liars figure and figures lie. And you can take all those statistics and all those figures and all those lies, and when you get to the NBA playoffs, you can throw them right out the window. Right now, you got a situation where you got 125 left in the 4th quarter. You got an 83-77 Utah Jazz lead. You got Karl Malone on the free throw line. You got the Seattle Supersonics at home trying to get their crowd involved. They've got to extend their defense to try to create some offense from the defense, but first of all, they've got to come down and score. I expect the Utah Jazz to play it straight up, close to the vest.
Karl Malone with 22 points tonight. Eaton, the rebound. This a big possession for the Jazz.
Big rebound for Mark Eaton.
Seattle may have to take a foul. The Jazz have it in the spread. They're keeping it in the hands of good free throw shooters. Now Corbin open. Came up short. Jeff Malone. It's knocked out by Seattle.
Well, in game 1, in this very same situation, Utah went to their spread, put Karl Malone in the middle, and he made all the right decisions. He made the right decision the last time, took it down to the baseline to Ty Corbin. See, when you throw inside, at the time, the Utah Jazz are feeling that they need to protect the ball.
And they
couldn't even protect it on an inbound pass. Great scramble.
And Corbin is fouled going for the shot. He'll shoot 2.
His second.
Dana Barros with the foul, his second. Ty Corbin, who has split 2 free throws on the line.
Well, one of the things you always worry about when you're a coach is the simple thing of inbounding the ball. It's very difficult to do on an NBA half-court situation because you always have 5 defenders on the floor and you have 4 offensive players.
Shots for Corbin.
The other thing that happens is the officials will let you bang and hold a little bit. They don't like to call the dead ball foul in that situation. Right now, Utah came out of this thing, you know, brushing Ms. Rudolph's monkey paw right off of their shoulders because they came very close to turning that ball over.
And they've got an 8-point lead now with a little over 50 seconds remaining. McKee for 3. It's a 5-point game. 16 points for Derek McKee.
There's that extended defense. You want to get the ball in the hands. Good foul.
Nate McMillan taking the foul. That's his 4th. And Ty Corbin back to the free throw line with 43.2 remaining. Tomorrow night, the Boston Celtics and the Cleveland Cavaliers, 8 o'clock Eastern on TNT. Game 5 in their Eastern Conference semifinal series. Boy, that's been a great series. New York, Chicago has been outstanding. Portland is 1 win away from advancing to the Western Finals, and should Jerry Sloan and the Utah Jazz hang on here, they would be 1 win away from advancing to the Western Finals. 2 clutch free throws for Ty Corbin.
Well, you know, you've had a Malone that hasn't scored in the 4th quarter here, but it's not Karl, it's Jeff.
Here's McKee over Karl Malone. Long rebound. Corbin cuts it off. And again, Seattle takes a foul with 33.1. It's Derek McKee and Corbin back to the free throw line. And that play there has pulled the plug on a crowd of 14,200 plus.
Well, I was very surprised that Utah challenged that three-point shot as closely as they did. Had that shot gone down, there's a very strong possibility that you could have been looking at a 4-point play.
Good job of free throwing by Ty Corbin down the stretch. He's 6 of 7 from the free throw line. He's got 10 points in the game. He has 11, and the Utah lead is 9. Dana Barros against Stockton goes all the way, and Eaton rejects it. And now Stockton coming back. Stockton dancing on the dribble, gets doubled up. Jeff Malone with 14 on the shot clock, about 3 difference.
Curious that George Karl elects not to foul in these waning seconds and let it run out.
Yeah, Utah playing keep away. Here's Karl Malone to the basket, and he's tied up at the 24-second clock buzzer with 3.1 left. A mighty big win for the Utah Jazz. Without question, their biggest in the franchise history.
24-second violation.
It was a 24-second violation. That's the whistle.
You know, I saw Mark Eaton in the lobby at a hotel before we came over the game, you know, and I said, nothing of consequence.
Whoa! Pierce with a 35-footer at the buzzer. It doesn't change the outcome, though. The Utah Jazz and Jerry Sloan have posted a major win in franchise history.
Did Malone score in this quarter?
Jeff Malone did not score here in the fourth, but Karl Malone did. But anyway, Utah with a 6-point victory and a commanding 3-1 edge in this series. This series will swing back to the Delta Center for Game 5 on Thursday, when at that time the Utah Jazz will have an opportunity to do something they have never done, and that is advance to the Western Finals. As they have taken the series edge 3-1. We've asked Jeff Malone to stop by and visit with us here on the post-game show. Jeff Malone, who in the third quarter was the offensive thrust